Hey everyone, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what professional photographers actually never tell you. Hey, what's up guys? My name is David Johnson, and on this channel we talk landscape photography. You know, going out into the field, gear reviews, post-processing tutorials, and then just real talk like this. So if you're into landscape photography, if you want to get better, my goal is to help you improve your landscape photography with online videos. So be sure and subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified of future videos. Now, in this video, we're talking about what pro photographers never actually tell you. And I think this is a really poignant video and an important one too, because I can remember back when I was starting out in landscape photography and had just gotten a camera, and I thought so many times, if I could only do what they do, if I could only go out and get epic shots every single time I go out to photograph. I want to tell you the things that are actually true about landscape photography. And some of the things that aren't talked about a lot are, number one, we strike out a lot. Professional photographers like me, we go out, we try to get those photographs, and we strike out so many times trying to get those epic shots. And it's those things that are difficult when you go out and try with landscape photography. Just keep trying to get that one shot. And I use the term strike out a lot because I don't want to use the term fail, because it's just like in baseball, let's take it. If you strike out, you still have another at bat coming up. So you can strike out all you want and then hit that home run and be the hero the next time you come up to bat. So it's not a thinking process of failing. It's a thinking process of, it didn't come together this time. Let's get back out there the next time and maybe we can get that sunset shot the next time we go out and shoot. Making mental notes along the way of things that didn't happen, that we wanted to happen, that we could incorporate into the next shot. Now, I think this is really important because when we go out and photograph and strike out and things don't come together, it's always important to take a photograph while you are out there. Here's a photograph that I shot while I was on location and the clouds just dispersed and nothing really happened with sunset. But I was able to frame this image up and plan out, okay, this may be a really good composition down the road when the sunset does come together and I can photograph it in the way that I want to. Now, also, a lot of these images that we photograph that you look at and you're just like, man, I would love to get out there and photograph that too. A lot of them are on the sides of a road. Maybe you pull off on a highway or the interstate and you just see something that catches your eye. It's not every single time we're going out to photograph, we're hiking miles and miles and miles into a location to try to get that photograph. Sometimes that is the case. Like in these few photos you're seeing right now, we're several mile hikes into a location and backpacking, sleeping there overnight. But also it's important to keep your eyes peeled for those situations of just driving down the road and finding something that catches your eye that you can jump out of the car, photograph, and jump back in. They're not always these super technical, thought out photographs that take months and months of planning. Now, there are those types of photographs, and there are really two types of photographs. Those types that you plan out and then the serendipitous shots that just occur. A lot of the best photographs that I've taken are photographs that just happen. And I see on the side of a road and I do pull off in a kind of precarious spot on the side of the road and then try to get out and photograph that scene. A lot of times it's from a parking lot, it's from the side of a road, it's just from a pull-off area that you see and really just catches your eye. So don't think if you take those types of photographs that you're not a photographer per se, but that you are making strides to see a location and to photograph what's really inspiring and speaking to you. The third thing is, and this is really important, so I want you to pay attention, is that we struggle with creativity just like you do. We struggle so much with having to go out and photograph whatever catches our eye. I think everybody goes through creative ruts, times that they just can't get the photograph right that really just catches their eye, or they have that vision of something that they do want to photograph and nothing just really comes together. I think a lot of people go through creative ruts, but they think as professional photographers, they know what they're doing every single time. But more often than not, we're going out to shoot constantly. And when you are going through a creative rut, sometimes it's more difficult when you are a professional landscape photographer because we're going out so much more and we have to get this shot for the project that we're doing, the video that we're making, or a client that wants a specific photograph. So it's always going out, struggling with these creative processes. And I think you can take that to heart too, because when you start to go through a creative rut, it's important to remember this happens to everyone. It's the process that you go through. And I love the process of landscape photography, going out, photographing, finding something to improve on, and going back out the next time and really working on those typical minor things that you can get to make your photograph that much better. Now, piggybacking on that, we also overanalyze our images to death. Take a look at this photograph that I shot. This is one of my favorite images, but I also just nitpick it to death and try to understand why I like this photograph and what I can do to make it better. And one of the things that drives me absolutely insane about this image is that at the bottom of the image, I cut off the flow that could have added a lot more dynamic motion to the foreground just down at the very bottom of the screen. There are other things in here like the waterfalls just barely off center. What could I have done if I had made it like a really long, tall shot, maybe in a 16:9 and gotten that whole flow in there rather than a 1:1 ratio. And I think there's a lot that goes into play about photo analysis and trying to understand why you take the photos you do and what can be done to make that a little bit better. So we nitpick these photographs to death and figure out what people are gonna like, what we like about them, what we like about photographing locations like this. So when you are going out into the field, I think analysis of your own work is really important, but more importantly is figuring out why you like the photograph and not just absolutely shred it to pieces so that you are afraid to share it with the public later. I think that goes back into the creative rut. You know, are we photographing something that makes us happy? If we are, share it. Other people are probably gonna be happy looking at it when we do share it. And this is also so personal to me because lately I've been going back through the images that I was afraid to share when I first started out in landscape photography because I didn't think they were good enough. I went back onto my hard drive, really went through those and looked at them and thought, these are actually pretty good. And I started sharing them on social media and they absolutely blew up with people commenting, saying that they love them. So never be afraid to share an image. If it doesn't get a lot of likes, who cares? You enjoyed taking it, you enjoyed the process. So always share your images, otherwise they're just collecting dust on your hard drive. And then the last thing, the life of a landscape photographer is extremely difficult. It's high pressure a lot of the time. One of the biggest things that people always tell me about, what I do as a career, and I'm so fortunate, I love what I do. I really enjoy this career and this job that I worked so hard. People always say, I just want to do what you do. And I always tell them it's really competitive. And that's the honest truth about landscape photography. Everything on this list that we go through just eats at you mentally, trying to get that image, especially when you are going through a creative rut. And then when all of this collaborates into, the pressures of going out and photographing something, building a following on social media, trying to get a lot of people and clients looking at your work, selling prints. 1 month you might sell a ton, the next month you might sell absolutely nothing. Constantly working on building a following of fans and friends. So it's always a lot of pressure and it's a lot of competition to go through the processes of landscape photography, creativity, going out into the field, taking time away from family, long days. I'll always remember a time in Joshua Tree National Park, I put in a 21-hour work day and barely got any images or content out of it at all. So it's long days, it's long hours, it's hard work, but it's all worth it. I love what I do. And that's what I tell people all the time is just, if you really want to do this, if you really want to go into it, jump into it full force, but understand the pressures and understand the difficulties that go along with it. And I think it's really important for other landscape photographers, to talk about the difficulties of going out to photograph, not just film vlogs of getting the hero shots or the best shots that they get, but also show that fail too. And that's what I try to do on this channel to help you guys out as much as possible.